Hey, this is Legit Retro Gaming, and for my first video, I'm going to authenticate the game Earthbound for the Super Nintendo. It came out back in 1995. Back then, it wasn't that popular. These days, it's going for crazy prices on eBay, all the way up to $400, $500, $600. I got this back 8 years ago off eBay for $120, I think. So, yeah, if you buy this game, you want to make sure that it is authentic. Otherwise, if you pay full price and you end up with a bootleg, you are getting ripped off. Fortunately, a lot of sellers usually display their PCB chip, and most sellers of this game are pretty good about making sure it's authentic. However, that's not true for all copies of this game. You still have to be careful. The reason I started this channel is because I was actually ripped off twice on the same game. Not this one, though. That game will be the topic of a future video. But today we will just be looking at Earthbound, and first we're going to look at the label. As you can see, the label, it has some wear. There's some blue residue on the front. And if you look at the back, if you look at the sides of the back label, you can see there's some definite wear there too. And the reason for this is most likely this was because this game was wrapped in a Blockbuster sticker, which would explain the blue residue. Anyway, that's my theory, which I'm 90% sure of. If your game shows signs of being a rental or has a rental sticker or branding on the cartridge like a few other of my games do, most likely it is an authentic game. That's a good sign of it being an authentic game, because back when this game was being rented out, those games most of the time were not bootlegged or reproductions. That just wasn't really a thing back then. Usually the video store got an authentic game. Otherwise, they would be in some legal trouble if they didn't. So anyway, the front label, which we're going to look at first, besides the wear, the label is not blurry. The serial number here is in bold font. It's not in thin, narrow font, which is a good indication that Earthbound, the game you have, is a reproduction. They usually use a narrow font here. The Nintendo logo, seal of quality, is in a pale brownish, greenish color. It's not very bright or bright golds like an authentic, or I'm sorry, like a bootleg seal of quality would look like. And the logo itself, like I said, not blurry. The contrast is not super bright like in a lot of these bootleg cartridges would have. The Nintendo logo is not blurry. The Earthbound title is in a teal color, a dark teal, and you can see the trademark here. So you have to be careful with a lot of these bootlegs. The trademark will look different, kind of weird. Here's the other trademark. The trademarks will look a bit different in most cases in bootleg games. If you look at the back, you see the manufacturing country. It says Made in Mexico. So that is a good sign that this is an authentic game. Most Earthbound cartridges were manufactured in Mexico. And one of the most important things to look for is the factory stamp, this number here. If your game does not have a factory stamp, that is a good indication that your game is a bootleg. Whether you're buying Super Nintendo, Game Boy Advance, you have to look for this factory stamp here. Alright, now let's open it up. I already took the screws out with the 8-bit screwdriver, which is a must if you are going to be collecting or buying these rare retro games. This is the back of the PCB here. No problems there. Now let's look at the front. So as you can see here, everything looks nice and neat. Each of the chips and the battery are all labeled on the PCB in this gold text here. Battery, this is the lockout chip, the SROM, the mask ROM here, and the decoder chip. So if you are looking at a bootleg cartridge or bootleg PCB of Earthbound, usually the PCB won't be this wide. It would be very narrow. The battery will be kind of sloppily stuck on the PCB, usually over here somewhere. There'll probably be an ugly black blotch somewhere on the PCB, which doesn't happen on every bootleg game, but I've seen it appear on a lot of them. I'm not really sure what they're for, I guess for adhesive reasons. But anyway, as you can see, first we have the battery on the top left corner, and caddy corner to the right, lower right, is the lockout chip manufactured by Nintendo that protects the game from being copied. Caddy corner from that chip, on the top right, we have the decoder chip. And to the right of the decoder chip is the SROM, which is where the game gets saved. As you can see here, it's nicely labeled in gold. And below that is the mask ROM, which is where the game is. Some Super Nintendo games and also Game Boy Advance games, they use a variety of chip manufacturers, different manufacturing companies. You have Fujitsu, you have Sharp, you have Hynix, different companies all across Asia, Korea, Japan, Singapore. So for Earthbound though, there's only one chip manufacturer for the mask ROM that I could find, and that is Sharp. That doesn't mean that there aren't others in existence, but in this case, Sharp seems to be the main manufacturer of the mask ROM chip. As you can see, Sharp's logo is not located anywhere on this chip, but if you look on the bottom line here, it's kind of hard to see. But the first two numbers are 95. So this is actually the manufacturing date. The first two numbers are the year, 95, and the next two numbers, I think that signifies the week that it was manufactured. But as you can see, it was manufactured in 1995, which was the year that Earthbound was released. And you can see the serial number here, SNES. The serial numbers, some parts of the serial numbers on chips will vary, but this is the main serial number for the mask ROM chip for Earthbound, SNES-MB0. So yeah, as you can see, everything is in the right place. This is an authentic Earthbound game. So you really need to be careful when you're buying rare retro games like this, because as I said, there are a lot of counterfeits, and based on a recent experience I had buying another game, or trying to buy another game, there are a lot of bootleg games that get resold, and buyers are just not aware for what to look for. So that is why I started this channel. So, yep, just to keep watching in the future, I'm probably going to release a new video of a new retro game every week. And, yep, don't get ripped off.